Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Henrik, and here the next two presentations I will introduce you to the hardware products of EIVA. The first one being the ScanFish, and the ScanFish, and then we also have what we call OceanEnviro winds. Yeah. And after this presentation, there will be a short break, and then we'll switch to the presentation of the Tough Boy Pantex, which is our wave rider buoy. You can say the history behind these products is that we are coming from being a software house, and we were also a representative of a lot of different sensors. So it made sense for us to start doing these products because we consider them being intelligent sensor platforms. And as Stefan already mentioned, then the ScanFish has quite some years to it now. It was introduced in the late 90s, and there are quite a few of them in operation worldwide now. Then in 2012, we decided to make a complete overhaul of the system, and meaning that we changed pretty much the whole steel skeleton of it, all the electronics, and pretty much all the equipment in it. And reason being that most of the electronics, they were simply outdated, so we couldn't support it anymore. So it was designed back in the 90s, and of course a lot have happened over the time. Yeah. And the main purpose of this vehicle is we have 4 different standard versions, and the first one, I think, yeah, you can switch to the next one, then it's easier to explain maybe.
Okay.
The main purpose of this vehicle is that you pull it after or tow it after the vessel, and then you have the capability of fitting it with different sensors. And you have some active flaps here in the back, which enables the ScanFish to move up and down in the water column. And as a standard, all the 4 standard versions, they have the same internal motion sensor, accelerometer, magnetometer, and a gyroscope. And last but not least, it also has an echo sounder. It has a pressure sensor for measuring the depth. Depending on which version we are looking at, then I think on the next slide we will have a detailed look, but then it offers 3 basic modes which it can operate in. The first one being fixed depth, meaning that you want to measure something in the water column at a certain depth, then you can just put in the desired depth, and the ScanFish will keep this at a very steady pace. The second one is follow seabed, and that means that you can program it, and then you can also see here on the illustrated here that you have the seabed here, and then you have the line of the ScanFish here, so it can actually very detailed follow the seabed. And the last operation mode is what we call undulation mode. That is something specifically for doing SVP, sound velocity profile. And it basically means that you can program it to follow a certain angle and up and down in the water column. This one is showing you the basic setup for when you have to operate the ScanFish. Of course, you need a vessel, and then you need a winch of some sort with some cable on it. Then you also have the option of, you could either have an A-frame for lifting it in and out of the water. It could also be another type of crane. And you have the option to add a cable counter. You have a cable counter here on the winch, but also you could have another one here for feeding in or another place on the vessel. Then the system consists of a topside unit where all the ScanFish flight software is running on. That can of course be placed where it's convenient on the vessel. This is giving you an overview of it could be one of the layouts. You can choose to set it up how you please, the layout of the ScanFish flight. But basically it's very user-friendly. It gives you some nice views of how the ScanFish is performing, and also you can control and monitor the ScanFish, and it will put up alarms if there's some unexpected things going on. And also in here you can do, before deployment of the system, we have something called pre-flight check, where you basically make sure that before deploying it in the water, you make sure that the full system is as it should be. Motors is working and everything. The system will also record all the movement of the vessel or of the vehicle here, and also any sensor information you have from the sensors mounted on the ScanFish. It will record it, the data. And then you will also have a feature where you could, it is an optional feature, where you could add automatic winch control, meaning that you would have the winch to deploy cable in and out to help the ScanFish follow the seabed or stay at a certain level. This is there's a lot of detail here, but this is just to highlight the 4 options that I mentioned before. The first one being the ScanFish Rockio, and that is mainly targeted towards oceanography. It has the capability that you can add up to 6 different sensors in it. So you have some compartments internally in the ScanFish, and you have a subcon connection where you can add probes for measuring oxygen levels or SVP or you name it. The second one is what we call ScanFish Cathria. It is targeted towards magnetometer surveys. It has some extension bars. Here you can see here, and then you have the 4 magnetometers behind it. And it is typically used for surveys of unexploded ordnance, like bombs. Then we have the ScanFish Conia, and that is also typically used by research institutes, universities, but also for doing sound velocity profiling. It comes standard with the SVP probe from AML. The last standard ScanFish version we have is the ScanFish Tropheus, which is specifically designed for towing a side scan sonar. It has a small bracket underneath where you can attach the side scan sonar. It could be, for instance, from EdgeTech or from Klein. And all of them can go down to 400 meters of water depth. And then regarding towing speed, then we typically say 4 to 10 knots, except for the ScanFish Cathria, which we only recommend up to 6 knots. This is just giving you an overview of the standard components. I have more or less mentioned most of them, but it comes with the flight software next to the ScanFish, of course. Then it has a subsea cable termination, a deck cable for connecting to the topside, and then it has the topside unit. And also, it goes for all of them. It comes with a transport case for easy handling and storage, for instance, on the deck and during transport. That's the size, yeah. 2U, yeah. No, it's 2U in height, so you can mount it in a rack if you want to. Then you can see here, the only one who has external connectors for other equipment is the ScanFish Rockio. The other versions are predefined, whereas Cathria, to repeat what we already went through, is for magnetometers, ScanFish Conia is for sound velocity profiling, and ScanFish Tropheus is for side scan. And then we have made a special cradle for storage of the ScanFish trophies, because we have this special arrangement with the side scan hanging below it, whereas the other ones, they can be put on the edge without any rack. Then we have the possibility to offer some optional extras for the different versions. It depends on what kind of software the client already, if he already has some basic navigation software, of course, he can use that, but we can also offer our software package, of course. But it's important to highlight that this is operating completely independent from the NaviSuite software. So if you operate Quincy or HiPack or whatever software, then you can also use flight software from the ScanFish. Then of other interesting features is something we can add a pinger for if you lose the ScanFish, you hit something in the bottom and you lose it, then you can also locate it again and find it again. And also in a lot of our operations, it makes sense to, and you need some exact positioning of the vehicle, and then you would add, for instance, an USBL system. Then we have the option to offer you with a wind solution, which is pretty much designed for operation of a system like the ScanFish. But you can, of course, also use existing winds you have on your vessels. These are some pictures of, you saw maybe in the break some videos of some of the systems also. Here we have the ScanFish Cathria, which is being deployed from a vessel with an A-frame. And as stated here, it uses 4 geometrics magnetometers, which are towed approximately 5 meters behind the vehicle. If you're using EIVA software, we can of course display the data coming from the magnetometers in our software, but you can also use the software coming from geometrics. On the right-hand side here, you see the bracket hanging underneath the ScanFish with the EdgeTech 4200 side scan sonar. And here you can also see we have the flight software on one side, and we have the display of the data coming from the side scan on the other side. And of course, the advantage of adding this under a ScanFish instead of just towing the normal side scan is that you can keep it very close to the sea bottom at a fixed depth. So that instead, where you only use the side scan, then you can only rely on the winds control. And the same goes for magnetometer surveys. There you would also like to keep a fixed depth or fixed position and follow the seabed as closely as possible. Otherwise, you would weaken your signals. Next ones, here are some other options which we have made with other customers. So this is beyond the standard versions. Here we have made a special arrangement with a fixed frame, also containing magnetometers, but a different concept where they have 2 layers, half a meter in between, and then they can get some more accuracy to the target location. On top you can see we have also added a USBL beacon and a camera for monitoring the operation. And also specifically for this version is we have added rudders on the vertical plane, meaning that we have 3D steering functionality. So we can both move it up and down and sideways in the water column. But it's important to point out it only works with when having this fixed frame behind it. Otherwise, you would not be able to steer it in this way. The lower picture here is a test we have done where we have used a multi-beam system from Norbit in Norway. And then we have combined it with the side scan transducers from EdgeTech. But again, it's just to give you an idea about the possibilities of the platform. This is not a standard solution, but something we have done based on input from one of our customers. Then there's a short movie, just giving you an idea about how to deploy it and how easy it is to handle.
Y qué tan fácil es manejarlo.
And you can see here it's a relatively small vessel
Y como pueden ver,
around 15 meters.
un barco bastante pequeño, como unos 50 metros.
The ScanFish without any additional sensors weighs approximately 75 kilos.
Pesa unos 75
75.
kilos. 75.
Yeah.
75 kilos.
So 2 men can easily handle it.
Así que 2 personas lo pueden transportar, maniobrar.
Then of course we have systems where we add external sensors in them, then we have a different weight, of course.
Y pues claro que hay algunos sistemas donde se les agregan unos sensores adicionales y eso hace que pese más.
It's you can see the termination. It's connected. Yeah.
Sí,
What do you mean?
Conectado. ¿Qué quieres? Sí, sí va conectado, sí va agarrado. Si le ponen el umbilical.
Yeah. You had a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Is possible the use of this ScanFish in deep water?
Se puede utilizar ScanFish en agua profunda. Can you use it in deep water?
In up to 400 meters.
Hasta 400 metros, sí.
Yeah. So relatively.
Relativamente.
But
Pero
this is the standard version.
esa es la versión
So
estándar.
if you have a special need or special application,
Si necesitan una
then
aplicación especial,
you're also welcome to talk to us, as we are considering doing a deeper version. Yeah. Before I
antes
move
de
on
que-
to the
antes
OceanEnviro,
de
are
hablar
there
del
any
Ocean
questions
Enviro,
to the ScanFish presentation?
tienen al-
I would say you can go relatively low water, yeah.
no lo utilizaría en aguas someras de
Of
menos de
course,
10 metros.
you can go even lower, but
Sí, sí
you
puede
want to
ser,
keep a safety margin also.
pero
So,
aunque pudiera ser menos, pero hay que mantener un margen de seguridad.
but that is possible, 10 meters, no problem.
Pero menos
If
de eso,
you have
menos 10
some
menos,
areas where you only have maybe 5-6 meters, you can also go in, but of course it's
sí,
yeah. And whereas if it's very calm waters, it should not be a problem. Okay. Yeah. No. It's collected
se
on a different laptop.
se registra en otra computadora
Yeah.
con,
So it's
con el
data acquisition software from following the side scan. Yeah. We can display it on any screen. Yeah.
sí, se
Using
puede
this
proyectar en
the
cualquier
software
pantalla.
coming with the side scan. Then I'll briefly introduce you to the wind series that we is it a couple of years back we decided to go for this solution. And as Stefan mentioned, it is pretty much the basic setup which also was sold by McCartney in Denmark. So McCartney has made the Cormac series and sold that for many years. The only change was that we had some issues previously with the electronics of the McCartney winches, so we decided to go for a completely new design of the electronics. And it is produced at SH Group's facilities in Denmark, so it's not produced at our local workshop, but at our partner SH, who are making winches for any purposes. Yeah, so basically we have 6 different versions, and of course it depends on what are your requirements to cable length and cable diameter, and also the strength of the winch. So basically this depends, starting ranging from approximately 6 millimeter cable up to 12 point something millimeter cable. Then you can have between 600 and 3400 meters. This is our standard versions.
Son las
And the
versiones
drum diameter ranges from 250 millimeters to 490 millimeters. And of course,
diameter.
depending on which cable you have, then it is possible to make some small adjustments to these parameters. Because the cable often has a minimum bending diameter, which defines what should the drum diameter be. And regarding the motors, then it's ranging from 1.5 kilowatts to 10.4. And then of course also it's been important to have a high personal safety when operating this system. So we have of course a remote control for we have the controls on the winds, but we also have a remote control so you could be at a safe distance when operating the system. Yeah, here you see the remote control display, which has been done together with the Sepro, which is a Norwegian company. It uses a standard Siemens touch screen display, and it provides you information about the cable length and speed and other parameters that are relevant for operation of the winds. Yeah, and I already mentioned that we're working with the Sepro and the SH group in Denmark, and they have been producing these winches for many, many years, and also to a wide range of applications. This is a relatively small wind series, whereas they're also making big hydraulic winches for big vessels. The standard components of the winch is that, of course, we have an electrical level wind with the speed and meter counter. And as I mentioned, we have a remote control. We have an electrical slip ring. And the steel grade is typically, the standard is AISI 316, but we also have another optional steel grade. And the main frame of the winch, it's been secured by these fiber security gratings to avoid hands and arms or whatever to get in close contact with the drum and the cable. Then we also can offer some optionals depending on, sometimes the customers, they already have a cable that they spool onto the winch themselves. Otherwise, we can also offer you with any type of cable that you want to use for your equipment. And of course, it's important to highlight that this is not only for the ScanFish, it can be used for any kind of equipment that you have, side scan or water carousel for water sampling or any kind of equipment that you have a need for a winch system. And then of course we can also offer you the cable terminations and the moldings needed for adding the different kind of equipment. And then there are also some other, like a sheave or A-frame solution, or then we have of course a spare kit which can be offered. That was about it.
Eso es.
Any specific questions related to the winds?